The problem with Magnus, you guys, is that Magnus can't actually talk about this. He's just a genius. All right, you guys, so we're going to start with the content bit here. The first video that we're going to start with right now, it's called Being a Chess Professional in Europe Sucks. It features the Austrian Grandmaster Felix Bloberger. I think he's around like 2600. I could be wrong on the exact rating that he's at. Well, let's get right into it.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a new video, again kind of in a raw format about a topic which is quite an emotional one for me and which I wanted to speak about for quite some time already. The topic is being a chess professional, especially in Europe.
Yes.
And as you can read from the title, it's something which I'm not totally happy about with how it's currently going.
Yeah, so first things first, let me double check on his rating just so I don't give you guys misinformation. Let me see exactly what his rating is. But yeah, so his current rating is, oh no, his rating is 2533. So I was a little bit off. His rating is 2533. So this is somebody who's probably 2530 is, I'm going to guess, maybe top 200 in the world, top 250. Obviously getting to this level, it's quite significant. I mean, you put in a lot of time and effort. And it's not surprising me that he's probably unhappy because he thinks he's put in all this work and he's probably financially, it's not viable.
So for those of you who don't know about my background and about how it also affects me, even though, as we will speak about later, I'm not just saying this because of me, but also because of my fellow colleagues, my fellow Grandmaster colleagues. So about my journey as a chess player in general, as a professional chess player. So I've been playing chess since I was 5 years old and became a Grandmaster when I just finished high school, when I was 18 years old. And at the same time, I also became self-employed in Austria, in my home country.
So, okay, he's played chess.
And yeah, that was in, what was it, 2021, I think. And now it's almost 4 years later, and I just kind of want to make somewhat of a resume of what my thoughts are on all of this. If you're a professional chess player in Europe. Okay. So the first thing I need to point.
Yeah. So basically, what he's saying right here, I'm gonna up the speed a little bit too on the video because I think it should be 1.25x. But basically, what he's saying is that so he started playing chess at 5 years old. At 18, he decided not to go to university and he decided to play chess professionally. And now he's 4 years into it. He's 4 years into this journey, trying to play chess professionally as a grandmaster at around a 25-30 level.
Out is when I'm speaking about professional chess players, I don't include the top 20 or top 30 in the world.
Correct.
Since if you're in the absolute elite in the world, then you don't really have that many financial struggles. Even though I think people often overestimate the amount of prize money and so on, which chess players win, even if they're in the top of the
yeah. So okay, so this is actually important to point out, which is when he talks about the top 30, even within the top 25 or top 30 players in the world, there is a breakdown to that. I would say that generally, we understand English, no, but the point that I'm making is I'm trying to give some context here that like the top 10 in the world. When he says they're not struggling, like basically I'm going to use a ballpark figure because everybody's a little bit different. Probably you're making, I'm going to say, about $250,000 a year pre-tax. I'm just using that as an average. It can obviously change. There are a lot of different factors, like if you're from India versus other countries. But probably if you're in the top 10, you're comfortably making $250,000 a year. If you're in the top 20, I'm going to say it's like 150. This is all pre-tax, by the way. And top 30, I would say it's about 100 or maybe 125, somewhere around there. But this is all pre-tax. So just to keep the numbers nice and clean, let's assume there's 50% taxes wherever you are in the world. You're looking at about a 125K in the top 10. You're looking at, and I'm just saying comfortably it can be higher or lower. You're looking at about, what did I say? I said like 150 for the top 20. So you're looking at 75K after tax. And let's just say it's like 125 if you're in the top 30. That's like, I can't do my math. That's like 60-ish, a little over 60-ish. So you're talking about 60, like let's just say 65K if you're in the top 30 guaranteed, 75K in the top 20, and then like 125K guaranteed if you're in the top 10. I'm just trying to use basic numbers, you guys, because I'm pretty sure he's not going to talk about this because obviously he doesn't have a general idea. But that's just like a general baseline of what we're looking at roughly. It might be a little bit higher on like top 30, top 20. I could be wrong there, but just trying to give a general baseline. So let's keep going.
The game. Like, you cannot compare Magnus Carlsen, arguably the greatest player of all time, with some other greatest of all times in other sports. It's simply another league if we're talking money-wise. The first thing I need to point out is that I don't want to make this video just to whine about all of these things. It's more about giving you guys kind of an insight in how things are going as a chess professional, and also if there are some of you who are thinking about pursuing a career as a chess professional, there are these things which you just need to be aware of if you want to pursue that career. So I wrote down a couple of points which I want to speak of. Again, the main thing is about being a chess professional in Europe. Why is that? That's a good question, and I will speak about that now. I think the main thing is simply the difference of like the standard of living is simply different in Europe if you compare it to Asia, for example. And the standard of living, I mean, now
so someone in chat says 200K for top 10 of the world for anything is crazy. I assume you mean that in a negative way. I don't think you mean that in a positive way. I think you're basically saying like 200K is like ridiculous basically for top 10 of anything. So Ben Simmons, I mean, there are people. There was a guy who was riding the bench who makes more than Magnus. I think was it like on the Thunder or one of those teams? I looked at salaries recently in the NBA and it's not comparable. But of course, don't forget NBA. There's something called merchandise which sells a lot. There's something called TV rights. I mean, there's so many different things that you can't really compare chess to basketball. So let's not compare it. But anyway, let's keep going with the video before we get too sidetracked.
Expenses which you have. First thing is taxes, of course, even though you could arguably say that about all of the professions. I mean, everyone is taxed the same when it comes to that, all of the professions. But also the simply how much you pay for everything, rent, food, and so on, is from my experience much more in Europe. Than, let's say in Asia, for example. The next thing is the recognition of chess in Europe, which I thought about it quite a lot, and it's actually a bit strange to me why it's so little in Europe, since historically speaking, Europe was one of the hotspots, especially Austria. If you look back into the 19th century, the first chess world champion, Wilhelm Steinitz, was from the Austrian Empire back then, Austro-Hungary. And Vienna was one of the capitals when it came to chess in the 19th century, but all of that changed after both of the world wars. But that's a totally different topic, which is also very interesting. But maybe I'll make another video on that some other time. So that's the main thing. If you're living in Europe and want to make a living as a pure chess player, purely
no teaching,
it will be much harder because simply your expenses, if you're living here, will be much higher.
I concluded there is one important point to this as well, which is this is a Eurocentric video, but if you're in the United States, I mean, it's changing over time. There are terms, but if you're a 2550 GM in the US, these expenses are going to be significantly higher. I'm just assuming you have to rent a place because you have this nasty little thing called airfare, which traveling across this little thing called the ocean makes tickets significantly more expensive than it is traveling within Europe. So all this is true what he's saying, but it's even worse in my opinion if you're from the US, because the best events, the way to try to earn a living, most tournaments are going to be in Europe. So if you're from the US, it's even worse, arguably, in my opinion, unless you're in the very top. You're Fabiano or you're me or Levon or whomever, you can play these events in St. Louis, but otherwise it's actually much worse for the US, for people in the US.
Thought here, because let's say as an example, we have two chess players. One is from, let's say, Germany, and the other one is from let's say India, for example. Germany is of course a more expensive place to live, at least on average. And if both of these players are have the same rating, let's say 2600, and they play basically the same tournaments. Nowadays, everyone plays internationally. They will, on average, make the same prize money, let's say. And this prize money, of course, is worth way more, in this case, India, than in Germany. So this is kind of my way of thinking here. And the issue is that the prize money, so that includes prize money from open tournaments, as well as the honorary, which is being paid if you're playing leagues for some clubs, basically stayed the same for probably 20-30 years.
So and, this is also an important point too, because a lot of people probably noticed, but this past weekend, Magnus Carlsen actually played in the German Bundesliga. And the way that professionals, I don't know if he's going to say this here, but the way that professionals actually make money if you're trying to play chess purely and you're not in the elite level is mostly playing leagues, whether it's like the German Bundesliga, whether it's the Turkish league, the Spanish league, the French league, the Chinese league. I think there was even a Russian league. I think most people don't play there now, but like that's the way that these guys earn a living, is you play like a board 3 or board 4 in a team competition, and you collect your couple €100 for every single game, and you try to play as many of these leagues as you can, and then you play a couple of the open tournaments, and you hope that you're able to like play really, really well, improve your rating, and have one big cash where you get like first place or tie for first and get like $20,000.
We all know money is not the same worth as it was 20-30 years ago, so that's the next issue. Prize money has simply not increased. Many top players have also pointed this out, but simply nothing is changing because, again, lack of sponsorships is probably the main issue here.
Yeah.
So these were the first points. Next point is level of recognition, which I briefly also touched on before. Yeah, as I said, I'm actually pretty surprised in how it was developed. I think the main thing was after the Second World War, people in mostly Europe, where most of the damage was done. I would guess. Of course, there were also other parts in the world where tremendous atrocities have been done. But I would argue that in Europe, most of the, I mean,
now. Important point, you guys. Important point is someone in chat says, say how does chess compare to other board game payouts? I think that on average, chess is, you're saying board games, quote unquote board games, chess is much better. Now, if you compare it with games, for example, I'm going to say card games like poker and all the variants of poker that exist, it's not even close. So it depends how you define it. So for example, let's just compare chess to, I don't know, like backgammon. I think chess is much bigger than backgammon is. If I'm not mistaken. If you look at a game like Go or Shogi, I mean, I won't use Shogi because that's Japanese and Shang-Chi is Chinese, but if you look at a game like Go where Japanese, Chinese, and Korean players play, I think that if the top players make less, meaning they probably make like $1 million or $2 million, but I think the overlay is much larger, meaning that probably the top 30 or 40 players make enough to live, is my guess, but I don't know this, so I'm sort of guessing on a game like Go or backgammon. Definitely is smaller than chess, but the thing is, if you compare chess to card games, which are a real thing, chess gets dwarfed by poker. It's not even close, so anyway, let's keep going. Chess is weird too in terms of career choices. People get higher rate at younger age, and most people around the age aren't looking to chess their career and just enjoy it. Yeah.
Of course, I'm kind of drifting into history now, but people simply had much more to worry about than chess, and therefore, for many, many years, at least it was like that in Austria. Yeah, chess kind of was not as important as rebuilding the country. But I guess you can argue about different theories why the level of recognition has went down in Central Europe. Please let me know in the comments if you have some other theories. But what I wanted to get to now was that as in the current state we are in now, I think that the level of recognition of chess in Europe is very, very little in general.
Yes,
I will give you a perfect example for that, about the Olympiad 2022, which happened in India, in where was it? In Vishy's place.
It was in Chennai.
I need to figure this out now. Chess Olympiad 2020. I was even there, so that's kind of disappointing. Chess Olympiad in Chennai, of course, it was in Chennai, and so I will give you one example. One includes the Chennai Olympiad 2022, and the other one includes the Olympiad from last year, which happened in Budapest. And the example I'll give you is that in 2022, the very young and fighting team from Uzbekistan won the competition, very deservedly so. And all of their team members, when they came back to Uzbekistan, they got a huge reception. And I think that all of the players were awarded a car, an apartment, and a huge sum of money. I think it was somewhere around $100,000. Again, please correct me if I'm wrong here.
So basically, and this is actually the funny thing about this story is that I've told a story in relation to being an American, actually. So like for me, I remember when I played my first Olympiads in the in the mid 2000s, and like the best example that I could use, I remember when Armenia won the Olympiad. I believe it was in 2006. In Turin, it was 2008 in Dresden. I forget which one it was. They might have won both, actually. But when Armenia won the chess Olympiad, it was a very similar story. They got like a car and they got some land. They were national heroes. I know that like with the Russians, they never did pull it off, but the Russians, it was the same thing. If they won, they'd each get $50,000 bonus for winning the gold medal. And then like here we are, good old America, and we won the gold medal at the Chess Olympiad in 2016 in Baku, Azerbaijan. And you know how much money I got for that? I got a great bonus of I should look up the actual number, because I always say it, I'm not sure, but I either got $4,000 or $5,000. I think it was a $4,000 bonus for getting a gold medal. So everybody on the team got $4,000 bonus for winning the gold medal. And here you have countries like Armenia or Uzbekistan or India as well, because India just won the last Olympiad, and they're getting massive sums of money. And in the West, chess just does not have the funding in the same way. It does not have the same recognition or appreciation whatsoever. So yeah, I mean, when we won in 2016, we got $4,000. $4,000. That's like 1 month's rent. Maybe 2 months if you live in Alabama or somewhere, but anyway, yes. So it's no kappa at all that that the bonuses are for winning the biggest chess event in the West are not even at the same scale whatsoever. That's what you get with 5 Title Tuesday wins. Let's forget about Title Tuesday. Yeah, that's 4 Title Tuesday wins versus an Olympiad gold medal. Like, yeah, let's not go there, because that really does actually kind of put everything into perspective. Let's keep going.
But yeah, tremendous recognition by their state. And what I'm getting to now is that in the Olympia 2024, I saw 2 cases, one involving a close friend of mine who is a European, and he won one individual board prize. So he got first place on his board with a performance of, I think, around 2,800.
Not bad.
And when he got back to his home country, he got absolutely nothing. Not even a handshake. Just absolutely nothing. No handshake, no money at all. Just no one said anything. Like, the world just kept on going like it was before the event. Another example is Frederik Svane from Germany, who also won an individual board medal on the 5th board, I believe, who also had a performance of like around 2,800 and got 3,000 euros from the German government or from the German Chess Federation. I'm not sure now.
That's pretty good, actually.
Euros,
actually, okay. I'm gonna be honest. That's not bad, though. All things considered, 3,000 euros for getting a gold medal on a board. That's not bad, actually. That's not too bad, to be honest. But still, you guys see the differential, though, because like it's just not the same thing whatsoever. When you look at this, like this could very easily, like I could say the exact same thing from a U.S. perspective that this guy Felix is saying from an Austrian perspective. I could literally say the exact same thing.
Yeah, very, very nice. Typical salary in Germany, average salary for 1 month, basically for one result which he has been working for his entire life. 2,800 performance in probably the most important event, which happens only every 2 years, and he got one average monthly salary as a reward. So I think it cannot get any worse than this. I mean, this is a perfect example of how things.
You know what? Also, but I mean, he's completely right about this, because I would give you guys my own perspective. As many people know, my wife is from Iran, and one of the funny things is that in some of these countries, like especially in Asia, like India or Iran or some of these or Uzbekistan, which is also part of Asia, I believe, is that when you look at these countries, there's so much more of a recognition on individual achievement in chess or anything than there is in the West. Whether anywhere in Western Europe, anywhere in North America, it's completely different. It's completely different. It's like when I talk to my wife, she knows that when I played this World Youth Chess Festival all the way back in 2000, and I got second place. I think I got the silver medal. And she assumed that I got some money from like the local federation for that performance, because you know it's representing the country, everything else. And of course I got a whopping $0 for that. I got nothing. Like, I got a silver medal, I got nothing. She actually won a gold medal for Iran at that same event in the women's section, and she got like gold coins. I mean, it's not like thousands of dollars, but she got some gold coins, got some recognition in the country. And so I think it's a cultural thing as well. Like in culture, it's just not, chess is just not. There's so many other things going on.
Things are going wrong, and that's also one of the reasons why, for example, India or.
Did I get a handshake? No, I got no handshake, you guys. Life kept going on. Yeah, like real gold, actually, real gold.
Uzbekistan has so many of the upcoming very strong players, because simply they have the motivation to do so, because they will get the respect and the rewards from their governments, which also gives them the motivation to do so. And if you're living in Europe, in most of the cases, there's simply not enough of this motivation, because you can simply put in that time which you would normally put in chess. If you want to become a top player, you need to study chess seriously for 10-15 years very often. People often have this analogy that if you want to become a grandmaster, you need to put in as much time as you would for,
two
let's say, a
PhDs.
PhD or some academic title, which I think is somewhat accurate. And yeah, in Europe now, many people are just asking themselves, yeah, why should I go for that if I can put the same time into something else, which at the end of the day will pay me much more than a chess career? Why should I pursue chess? And yeah, that's the current issue I see. And if this is not changing, which I don't see it happening, I don't really think that European professional players will even be able to compete much more in the future, at least on the very high level, because simply there's not enough motivation, I think, for players to go there from a financial standpoint. Please, again, if you have different opinions here, please let me know in the comments. This video, again, is, I don't want to spark any controversies here. I just want to I just want to get the ball rolling.
Who is it? Yeah, so this is an Austrian streamer, but his name is Felix sorry, he's an Austrian grandmaster. His name is Felix Bloberg. I was about to say a different last name, but yeah, he's like 25, 30. It sounds like he's 22 years old. At 18 years old, basically 4 years ago, he decided to pursue chess professionally. Basically, didn't go to college or university and decided to take a shot at it. And 4 years later, it sounds like he's doing pretty poorly, basically. And I think he's right with what he says here. The general point is, if you're in Asia, it is true. If you have great performances in Asia, you will be rewarded for it. Great performances in chess, you will be rewarded. If you're from Europe, you're from America, you're not getting rewarded for anything. You're not getting, there are no rewards. No rewards at all. Like, I remember, you guys, this is the best one is 2016. So the United States won the gold medal at the Chess Olympiad in Baku, Azerbaijan. Great performance. We won. You know, you're kings of the world, whatever you want, however you want to put it. You feel like you've accomplished something very special. And then basically, you know, we have our little party that evening. You go get on your plane, come back home, and life moves on as though nothing changed. So basically, yeah, it's like there is no recognition whatsoever at all. And also, for anybody who's thinking this video is boring or why am I covering this, it's because actually, as someone who did play chess, who had played leagues, I actually got stuck in a range between 2650 and 2700 for a little bit. Like, this is something that I can definitely relate to quite a bit. Like, I'll tell you guys one other fun story. So I remember, like, it's like I was like 2680, 2690. I played the Austrian league, of course, go figure. I think this was 2008. I remember how proud I was that, like, I got this 500 euro bill per game. I got paid 500 euros per game, and I was so proud when I could take my I think it was 2 500s. Was it one? I think it was one. I took my 500 euro bill and I bought a Hugo Boss jacket at like the Boss store in Vienna. I was so proud of that I could actually go do that. So this is something that, like, actually for me, I can relate to quite a bit. I can relate to this quite a bit.
That people speak about this, because I feel like it's just a little bit unfair. Even though I have to say one thing, if we're already at the term of unfair. Again, please let me know if
by the way, I will say, however, I'm going to be honest though, I will say, however, using the phrase unfair is not right. Like, you can be unhappy about, like, I think it's terrible that chess isn't bigger in America, for example, but saying it's unfair, like, that's not a good way of phrasing it, because then you do sound like you're whining about it, when the reality is, I mean, you're living in Europe. Like, life in Europe objectively is a lot better than life in, say, India, for example. I mean, India, like, the vast majority of people there, I believe, live below the poverty line. I mean, there are people who don't even, I mean, it's like they're literally washing themselves in rivers and other things. Like, it's kind of a little bit, you shouldn't use the word unfair, because, I mean, you are living in Europe, and Europe, I mean, the standard of living is a lot higher than it could be if you're somewhere else. So I don't really, the unfair bit, I don't really like. I don't like that. I think saying it's unfair is kind of it is a little bit like, it's shaky in my book, a little bit shaky. No, but that's not like I'm not saying anything negative. I mean, you look at India, it's improving. The country's going to continue improving. I'm just saying there are lots of places you could look at India, you could look at Africa. And so when you say, like, it's unfair, like, that's like me saying, you know what, I'm sitting here in Los Angeles, California, but man, you know what, I'm not making as much money as I should. I should have my private jet. It's so unfair that I don't have my private jet yet. It's so unfair. But of course, I mean, the reality is I'm sitting here in America, and obviously, like, there are a lot of worse places that I could be right now. So anyway, let's keep going with the video.
Experience with other sports or know these things. How is it like in other sports, like from getting paid? Because in chess, if you're not in the top 30, I would say, you cannot really
Correct.
Just make a living with playing chess by itself. Of course, there are countries where it's easier. Some countries like Armenia, for example, the national team also has has like a monthly salary.
Correct. Yes.
National team. But I would say on like typically, even in the top 100, there are many players that don't play chess professionally. They have it like as a side job, basically, which I think is just a little bit strange and unfair, because professional players, at least in the top 100, should be able to just focus on playing, on competing in their sport, and not having to coach and write books and so on at the same time. Like imagine, of course, it's a bad example because let's say imagine tennis, which of course is a much more viewed sport than chess, but just imagine a player there in the top 100 playing tennis professionally and coaching at the same time. It would just be unthinkable.
But you know what, I'm not sure that he's right on this. Actually, I feel like if you're around number 100 in the world playing tennis, you don't actually make a living. Am I wrong on that? I'm not so sure. Unless you have the right sponsor, I'm not so sure that he's wrong, actually. I'm not sure that he's right. In tennis, isn't it true, if you're like 100 in the world, I'm gonna Google this, if you're does number 100 in tennis make a living? I don't think they do, actually. I think tennis, you need to be in the top 20 also. How much? Okay, let's see. I just found a thread. How much do players between 50 and 100 make? Taxes. It doesn't sound like they're making much, actually, in tennis. They're not making much. But what I would say objectively is this is where, if we're going to talk about failures or things being wrong, I would actually say Djokovic spoke about it recently. Okay. I would say that if you look at this, where was I going with this? This is one of the big failures, I think, within chess, is that FIDE, the governing body has done absolutely nothing whatsoever to provide for the players. Like, even if you look at now players and how they earn their income outside of the World Rapid and Blitz, the candidates, and the World Championship, FIDE really does not provide anything. So it's like at the very elite there's stuff, but I think FIDE, if they were really successful as the governing body, they would have been able to get more sponsors, and the money could be more spread out. But most people, as I said before, the vast majority of the top 10, they make their living from chess.com, playing tournaments on chess.com, playing the Grand Chess Tour, freestyle chess, all these different things that basically are completely separate from FIDE. Let's keep going. This is a long video.
Sorry. This is kind of the reality. So yeah, let's go to the next point. Of course, this is the main difference between Europe and Asia, which I wanted to talk about.
We'll get to articles about chess salaries afterwards.
I would say affects all chess players. The first thing being that traveling is often very exhausting, and
it's actually a little bit too slow. I'm gonna pick up the speed. I'm gonna pick up the speed here. I'm gonna put it 1.5 actually.
I hear many of my friends often telling me that I get to see all these interesting places, and I get to see many nice cities and so on. But just to give you an insight on how it usually goes down, when we travel to a place, we land at the airport, then we get picked up, or we go by public transport to the hotel. And then we start preparing, because on the next day the tournament starts, and from there on we are just in the tournament. We play the game usually at 3 p.m. Before that we prepare, after that we have dinner, we prepare again in the evening, and this is how every day goes. And there's simply no time, and also no energy.
This is also one of the things that I think a lot of people miss, is that it's true when you go to play a chess tournament, what happens is, like what he's saying is, you fly in, like, let's just say the tournament's on Saturday, let's say it's a weekend tournament. You fly in on like Thursday night, okay? You fly in on Thursday night, you start preparing, your game starts on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you play all 3 days, and then you catch your plane, you go home, you've seen absolutely nothing. And usually you're also not in the center of the city, at least at this level. To
do any sightseeing at all for 99% of the players, I would say. And since nowadays we don't even have a rest day anymore in most events, because it would even cost even more for the organizers, this usually happens for 9 days in a row, and then on the next day, sometimes even on the same day, players go back to the airport and go back home. So this is how it usually goes. So there's not really that much to see from the cultures there, from the cities, but this is just a common misconception which I see, which I hear with some people that don't play tournaments themselves that often.
It's like it's great, because it's like, you know what, it's like you see tournaments in London, you're so lucky you get to go to London, and then you find out you're playing 50 minutes away from the center of the city, and you're literally just studying and playing chess all the time. It is pretty funny, actually. So but I will say the only thing about this that I don't like, though, is I don't like how it feels like it's unfair. And I mean, it's unfair for everybody if you want to look at it that way. That's the only thing I don't like.
To the next point, what are the kind of the solutions to this problem? I think most players go to coaching or to other sources of income if they cannot sustain their
Correct.
their
Yes.
financial needs by playing alone, which again includes, I would say, 90% of grandmasters.
True. Yep.
The problem, again, with coaching, when we're speaking of Europe, is that the coaching market in Europe, in my opinion, is severely undervalued. If you look in the United States, for example, you can hardly find a coach there, a grandmaster, under, let's say, $80. When you look at Europe, especially more Eastern European countries, it's very standard for grandmasters to offer lectures for 30 euros, something like that. And this, in general, hurts the market immensely because Europe is not.
I mean, there's a simple reality. There's a simple reality to this, which he's right about this, but there's a simple reality. Here in America, we have the greatest economy in the world. All the most valuable companies are here. People make more money. We have more disposable income. And that's why the rates are much higher. In Europe, people make less. Of course, we can discuss politics. I don't want to get into that. But the reality is in the US, people have more disposable income. That's just the reality.
Not that large, and if someone from, let's say, Russia offers these rates for let's say 30 euros, which in Russia is more money than, let's say, in Austria, it's simply worth more, then I will have quite a hard time in Austria
but this is
for
sad.
a little bit more than that, since if I'm working,
I mean, this is sad because, like, I'm just gonna tell you, if tomorrow I decided to close shop, like, I'm like, you know what, I don't want to do the streaming thing. I want to smoke back, wear a hat, drink mojitos all day, and go move to Mexico. Like, I could probably do online teaching for like $500 an hour if I really wanted to. And like, when you look at this guy, he's like 25, 30, he's a grandmaster. Like, he's struggling to make $30 an hour. Like, it's brutal. It's just absolutely brutal. It's like unbelievable.
30 euros per hour. I also have to prepare for the lesson. At least that's my own philosophy. If I give a lesson, I prepare. Very often, if I give a lesson for 1 hour, I will also prepare for 1 hour, since I want to have my lessons very well structured. So that brings me to 2 hours, and then I will be working basically the minimum wage, something like that. So then it will be very hard for me if there are very strong grandmasters in Europe, in Russia, for example, or in more Eastern European countries who offer these nice rates. It will be very hard for more Central European people to compete with them, simply. So yeah, this is the issue with the coaching market as well. Now we drifted off a little bit from playing to coaching, but this is one very big issue.
He's right, though. He's right.
For a very long time. I can even be very transparent.
But the thing is, in the United States, so people can teach. Like, people can teach for $100 an hour. It's very standard to charge $100 an hour. This guy's a GM. He's 25, 33 currently. I think he's been a little bit higher. I mean, I understand why he's frustrated. Like, I get it, because like 4 years ago, he decided he wasn't going to go to university. He was going to try and play chess professionally. And now he's like, WTF, what's going on? There's no money in chess whatsoever. And it's like one of the things that one of the core points I've always tried to make throughout my streams ever since I started getting into content creation. Well, I mean, there are two things, but the first thing is I've always tried very hard to stress that, like, you know, when you play chess, you should play chess to enjoy the game. Any notion of trying to be professional or try to do these things, like, it's not realistic in my opinion. And I really think the more that people are educated, understand it, they'll be able to, you can pursue it, but understand that there's like a period of time where you have to try and go for it, and then you kind of have to just do either start coaching or do something else, because you're literally never, you're not going to make it. You're just not going to make it. The second thing that I've also said is, frankly, and I've said this as a way of, like, just, you know, how I don't really think chess is where it should be, is that it's true. Like, me as a content creator, I make more money as a content creator, significantly more money in content creation than I would make as a professional chess player, and it's not even close. We're talking multiples. So that's the other part. Is like, all this is like, I've always tried to say these same things, that basically I think, you know, people who think chess is super glamorous, it's not. It's also why, you know, another thing, this is sort of veering off topic, is I do, you know, is that this is one of the things that, like, I would love to say on one of these podcasts, is like, the more people know about this, like, all the sweat, the tears, you know, the true struggle that goes into being a chess player, that's what people want to see. That's what people want to see in TV shows and other stuff. I think trying to give off this glamorous vibe of people, you know, like myself or Magnus, going to these high-end tournaments, being in New York City or London or wherever, is actually, in my opinion, the wrong way of trying to portray chess. Trying to make it look like some glamorous thing instead of focusing on the actual, like, hard work, the struggles that it takes to get there. I mean, I think people forget that, like, you know, I went to college for a bit and then I dropped out, and I decided to take a shot at chess, but there was no guarantee that I was going to be successful. The problem with Magnus, you guys, that Magnus can't actually talk about this. And the reason Magnus can't talk about this is because Magnus never had to deal with the struggle. He's just super talented. He had sponsors in Norway from the time he was 13 years old. Microsoft, their subsidiary in Norway, was sponsoring him from the time he was 13. So none of these things actually, Magnus can't relate to them because he never had to deal with any of this. He's just a genius. He's just a genius. Like, I mean, there's no better way of putting it.
on what I earned last year in 2024, it was around 30,000 euros. So I'm just being transparent here.
Oh.
And I would guess, I didn't calculate it, but I would guess I made maybe 1/3 of that by playing, maybe even half of it by playing. But as you can see, it wouldn't be sustainable at all.
Yeah, $30,000 a year, and I'm betting that's pre-tax. I bet that's, well, I don't know if he's gonna say, if that's pre-tax, if that's pre-tax, that is, you consider all the taxes, the travel expenses. Oh man.
If I wouldn't do coaching and making courses and so on, and also starting to create content, which in my opinion is by far the best option to possibly make a living from chess as well. And I'm also using this not only to make a living, content creation, hopefully, but yeah, also to offer you these insights. I mean, probably everyone will say this, that he's not making content for money and so on. But yeah, this is also very important for me to give you these behind the scenes things, which I don't see many people speaking about. Yeah, so I made these 30,000 euros last year, and I'm living in Austria, so the state will take like 30% of that. I'm left with maybe 21,000.
Oh my God. They take 30% on 30. Isn't $30,000 a year basically considered poverty in the US? You get taxed 30%? What the heck? You get taxed 30% on 30K in Europe? What? What? That is ridiculous. And people wonder why I'll never live in Europe. Oh my God, that is ridiculous. You get 30%. What is it? Tax bracket US 30K. Let me see. 30K a year. I'm just looking at the US tax brackets. Okay, if you make $30,000 a year living, okay, California, that means you'll pay $5,000. Okay. Okay, but that's California. Yeah, like, oof. Even in California, you don't get taxed that much. Jeez. Oh man, that's brutal. No, but that's just brutal. That's like, you can't live on that. You can't live on that. I mean, you literally can't live on that. I don't think he gets any support.
And yeah, if you're a chess player, you often need to pay for travels yourself and pay for hotels and so on. So at the end of the day, nothing much is left anymore. And it sounds like I'm complaining quite a lot here. Please don't take it that way. I'm very grateful for many of the things which chess has given me, and at the end of the day now I don't really have to care right now about this, because I can pay my rent, I can pay for food, and as long as I don't have a family, I don't really have that many responsibilities yet. But the issue starts once you start thinking about having a family. Then the issues
there's also the second part, which he's not getting into here because he's so young and he is far off. But the other big problem about this whole thing is that at the end of the day, you're not always going to be able to play at this level either. The problem is, like, your level's going to dip. Like, you're not always going to be playing at this level, and as you get older, there are kids who are younger, there are people who become better than you. So even at this level, it's not sustainable for like 20 years. Even it's not sustainable. Like, you're basically, you're going to go broke. You're going to be a broke boy. That's all there is to it. It's just not sustainable if you don't improve and get over like 2600 plus. It's just brutal. He's a GM from Austria. His name is Felix Bloberger. He's rated 2533 currently. He's 22 years old.
Really start, and therefore I really want to address it already now, since at the point where I might think about starting a family, hopefully at that point these things might have improved. So yeah, let's go to the next point. Of course, all of this discussion has to do with simply the viewership and how interesting chess is for the public. And I'm probably pointing this out too late, but simply chess is not as enjoyable to watch for the general audience than, let's say, tennis or soccer, because simply there's not that much happening, and also the rules are way more complicated than, for example, soccer or tennis.
Yep.
Now, probably the best solution to that is to include more rapid and blitz, because it will at least attract more viewers. Like, no one will sit in front of the TV or in front of the laptop and will watch a whole world championship match. Like, games take up to 6-7 hours. Simply, there are not many people who want to take those many hours out of their day to watch one chess game. And the next thing, which is kind of an experimental thought process.
Whoa, you guys said it's a progressive tax system? I mean, he said 30%. Like, I'm just going off of what he said. Like, he said that himself. Like, he said it's 30, not 15. So, like, if there's something wrong with it, like, okay, but that's on, he said it. That's not me making it up. He said it.
Mine is that it might be an interesting idea to market chess kind of like a tool to keep your mind healthy. Of course, I think almost everyone knows this already, that chess is very good for the mind, at least if you do it moderately. Don't end up like Bobby Fischer or someone like that who just goes crazy by doing too much chess. But for the average person, chess will serve as a very good tool for the mind. I think
he's probably board 2 or board 3. Board 1 for Austria is Markus Rager, who's close to 2700. Board 2, I think there's this guy Valentin Dragnev, and I think he's probably board 3 if I had to guess. Probably around there.
It makes sense to market it like that, especially considering the advance of AI and other technologies, which at the end of the day kind of scares me, because people, even now you can see, are less and less prone to think on their own. And I think it could be very important in the very near future to have some tools which keep us kind of thinking. So especially this would be very nice in schools, which we already see an implementation of that. But that could definitely be improved. There were even some studies in schools done where one group was playing chess on the side. They had some problems. Some program,
Marcus Rager's 2580. What?
And in general, the group which did have this chess program also performed better in their overall school exams. So yeah, this is another angle to think about it as well. Of course, please let me know if I missed something here. These are just my own unfiltered thoughts. But yeah, this is it. And now at the end, I really need to mention that there are, of course, also many upsides of having a professional chess career. Like, please don't understand this video. I think I said it in the start as well, but please don't understand this video that I'm just crying about how things are. I'm not. I'm very grateful for what chess has done for me in general. And I simply want things to improve for the chess community. And because at the end of the day, I think that chess is a beautiful game, which, as I just said before, also has a lot to offer for the general public as well. So about the upsides, again, if you're thinking about
you're your own boss
chess player,
you make your own schedule.
Experiencing different cultures as well. As I said before, often it's difficult to do sightseeing and so on, but even on the way, like from the airport to the hotel, or even on the way to the hotel to the supermarket and so on, you simply kind of have a grasp on how things are going in that country. Like, you see how people are living, you see how people are treating each other, and those kind of things, which just open your eyes when it comes to the world. And I'm very, very grateful for that I got to see all of these different countries of the world, even though I wished that I could have seen more of these countries, but chess has simply worked for me, so I didn't really have that much time very often to see those countries. But I still always got to know, at least kind of got to know the culture and the different cultures, and very often seeing people who live with simply a lesser standard than I grew up with, which makes me more grateful of how my life is going, basically. And yeah, that's a very big upside, probably one of the biggest things that chess has given me. And yeah, that's something I'm very grateful for. And the next thing, of course, is meeting people that often result to very long-lasting friendships, because everyone is sharing the same interests, chess.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say that the chess players are specifically like-minded, but in all senses, but I would say that most of them are somewhat
same lifestyle,
and that makes it easier to, once you get to know each other, at least makes it easier often to keep that connection, because somehow you're just sharing something. Is it chess? Is it introversion? I'm not sure, but yeah, that's also something I'm very grateful for, is that I got many very good friendships and so on from chess itself. So I hope I didn't forget anything in this video. I'm just seeing that it's already 25 minutes long. I hope that I spoke about all the points I wanted to address in this video. And I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, he does teach on the side, you guys, but if you missed this, if you're just tuning in now and you missed the part of it, what he was arguing is he's saying in Europe that because there are a lot of Eastern Europeans, like Russians and former Soviet republics, they'll come in and they'll basically offer lessons for $30 an hour, because $30 in Russia or like Ukraine or wherever goes a lot further than $30 will go in Austria or in Western Europe. So basically the point is that, like, he can't charge a good rate. He has to charge a much lower rate because the market's flooded with Eastern Europeans who charge a cheaper rate because the value of the currency is worth a lot more in their own country. So he's not saying that he doesn't teach. I mean, you can say it's a sob story. I mean, I think the thing is that it's very difficult to, see videos like this. On one hand, it's like, obviously you feel very bad for him. On the other hand, of course, he lives in Austria, lives in Western Europe, a fairly advanced culture and society. But yeah, I mean, I think the bottom line is that I think I actually don't have an issue with this video or what he's saying, because I think, as I said, my general viewpoint about all these topics is that the more that people hear about this, the more that people understand and try to affect change. But unfortunately, that hasn't happened, because as I've said probably a million times on my stream, I've literally said probably a million times on my stream that I make more making content than playing chess. That basically it's better off for me to sit at home and not play chess terms. And when I've said that over the years, like, I've always thought that, like, the governing bodies or the sponsors, like, people will hear that and they'll realize, like, wait a second, something's actually wrong with chess, that you have a player who's number 3 or number 2 in the world and they make more money from content creation than they do from playing the game of chess. But unfortunately, every time I've said that, nothing has changed. Like, it just falls upon deaf ears, and everybody just thinks that I'm flexing or everything else. So like, I think the more you hear these sorts of stories, the better it is for chess, the more that I think people will potentially appreciate chess, and you can maybe have more sponsors and more interest. Because I don't think, I think everyone's under the impression, at least when I look at when I look at stuff related to content, or like, you see all this stuff that Netflix or other people are trying to film around chess. I think all of it is focused on, like, how glamorous chess is, how everybody's a genius, how great the game is, blah 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 blah. And And I actually think taking the realities of what chess are and the struggles that these players have, trying to make it into something where they can earn a living is much more can be much more impactful than something that's just like talking about like Magnus and this billionaire guy, you know, doing stuff and like all that high end stuff. I don't think that's something that is actually productive or useful, because I think it gives off the wrong image about what chess is. So that's the bottom line of what I would say. Someone also asked me what do I think of this, what I would say to him. I mean, I think what I would say, I mean, I don't know his background, like what he studied in college, or not college, sorry, in high school or secondary school in Europe. But I think what I would say is he should pick a certain, he should pick something. He should pick some cutoff date, like pick a rating, something, pick a cutoff date. And if he doesn't get to that point, decide that he's going to go in a different mode, whether it's teaching, whether it's going to university, college. Like he should make a choice. He should like say, you know what, if I'm not 2,600 within a year, well, I gave it 5 years. That's that. Something along those lines, probably. So yes, Levy and I are both doing better than all the top players. Let's leave it at that.